Wait, what? Mr. Cudney, come on, no. No, man. We can't have a test today. I didn't study. I've forgotten everything. Is this you? Or worse yet, one of your students? Well, if you want to find a way to get your students to retain the information that you've taught them, then stay tuned.
Let's take a brief look at the history of Cornell Notes. In the 1800s, a German psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus conducted research on memory and the process of forgetting. He discovered a principle we now call the forgetting curve. Ebbinghaus discovered that we lose between 50 to 80% of what we learn after approximately 24 hours. If you only forgot 50% of what you learned, what might you expect to get on a test, quiz, or assignment? I'm sure most of us would prefer to earn a better grade than this. Luckily, in the 1950s, an education professor at Cornell University named Walter Pauk devised a method for retaining new information. These are now known as Cornell Notes. This process is based on intelligent and consistent organization, allowing for easy navigation of a user's notes. The method also requires the user to repeatedly interact with the notes after the note-taking process. The user reviews after 10 minutes, reviews and revises again within 24 hours, then revisits, reviews, and revises notes within 7 days, and finally reviews the information for at least 10 minutes per week after the initial note-taking process. This is known as the 10-24-7 method. By using this technique, users can retain up to 80% of the information learned. So, let's learn how to create Cornell Notes so we never have to worry about that pesky forgetting curve ourselves. Let's set up our Cornell Notes template. Count down 2 lines from the top and fold from the top down along that second line. Then, count up 6 lines from the bottom. You'll take the bottom of the page and fold it up along the 6th line. Then take the left side of the page and fold it about 1/4 of the way across the page. What this will do will set up some nice guidelines for us to draw our Cornell Notes template. So, go ahead and draw your line across the top crease. Then draw another line along the left-hand crease. And then draw another line along the bottom crease. Now we have a nice template for our Cornell Notes. The next step is to go ahead and put in our titles. The first title is Topic. This is going to be the actual topic of your notes. Next, you want to put in your name, date, and the period. Your name is there so that your teacher can return your notes to you after giving you feedback, or if your paper were ever lost, someone could find it and return it to you. Next, you want to put in the date. The date is there so that you know exactly when you took these notes. Then you want to put in the essential questions section. The essential question will be written after you have finished your notes and you know the question that would best be answered by the topic that you have covered. Next, you want to put in the notes section, which is in the right-hand column, and then you want to go ahead and put in the questions section, which is going to be in the left-hand column. And last but not least, you're going to want to go ahead and put your summary section down at the bottom so you have a place to write your summary. Alright, now that we have completed our template, let's go ahead and take an actual look at the note-taking process. You will notice that I have color-coded this set of Cornell Notes. This will make it easier for you to identify which sections I will be working in. Typically, your notes will be in black and white because they will be handwritten. The first section that we will be filling out is the topic or objective. This is highlighted in purple for the use of this tutorial. Today's topic is going to be Cornell Notes. The topic will usually be given to you at the beginning of the lesson by your teacher. Next, we're going to fill out the identification information section, which is going to be in the orange section of your Cornell Notes. We're going to place our name, date, and period in this section. Your name is there to help your teacher identify who the notes belong to. The date is there so that you know exactly which day you took this particular set of notes. Next, we'll complete our notes section, which is highlighted in yellow in this tutorial. Notice that we skipped the blue section labeled Essential Questions. The Essential Questions section will be filled out after we have completed taking our notes and writing down our other questions. You will notice that I have already filled in the information for the sections that we have already covered in this tutorial. After you have finished taking notes, the next step is to create questions in the questions section, which is highlighted in red in this tutorial. The questions should be answered by the notes that you have already taken. Once you have completed your questions and you have completed your notes, then you can go ahead and start your summary, which is going to highlight the key points within your notes. Both the question section and the summary section will be demonstrated in a few moments. After completing your notes, there are some techniques you can use to review. The first is to recite. You can cover the notes section and try to answer the questions you wrote in the question column. You can also reflect by answering these following questions. How can I apply the information I learned? What are the most important facts in my notes? How do they connect with the knowledge I've already learned? Make sure that you review at least 10 minutes per week after the initial note writing process. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the question creation process. The first and most important question we need to ask ourselves is, what is our essential question? This should be answered by your notes. Our essential question for this session is, what are Cornell Notes, and how and why should we use them to help us retain new information? Alright, let's go back and create some questions for the different sections of our notes. The first question should be, how is information retained and how can we improve retention? Question number 2. What process is used to create guidelines for Cornell Notes? Question number 3. How should Cornell Notes be filled out prior to the start of a lesson? Question number 4. What should I do after taking notes? Question number 5. How can I review the information in my note? And question number 6. When should I make revisions to my notes? Now let's take a look at the revisioning process. This is where you return to your notes and add new information, add titles to make your notes easier to navigate, and remove information that is incorrect or information that you do not need. Be sure to use a different colored ink and/or a highlighter when you make your revisions. Follow along as I create titles for each of the different sections and highlight important information within the notes that we have already taken. This brings us to the last step in the Cornell Notes Taking Process. Here you will summarize your notes, highlighting the key and most important facts that you gathered in your note-taking. Your summary for today's notes should sound something like this. Without the right note-taking strategies, we lose most of the information we learn. But if we revisit this information using the Cornell Notes techniques after the first 10 minutes, then after the next 24 hours, then the next 7 days, and then 10 minutes each week, we can retain up to 80% of what we learn.
Thank you for watching another episode of Mr. Cudney Presents. I hope I've taught you a little bit about the Cornell Notes Taking Process. Now, make sure that you go ahead and click that like button, and you click that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. That way, you never miss another exciting episode of Mr. Cudney Presents.